Hello everybody, and welcome back to the JD Tomlin YouTube channel, discovering and documenting the history of Northampton and Northamptonshire. Today we're diving into the life of John Clare, the Northamptonshire Peasant Poet, a man whose words painted the soul of rural England's heartland. Born into the fields of Northamptonshire, Clare rose to fleeting fame, only to descend into madness, spending his final decades in Northampton General Lunatic Asylum, now St Andrew's Mental Hospital. His story is one of beauty, loss, and unbreakable ties to the land. Stick around as we trace his journey from Helpston's hedgerows to Northampton's asylum wards. John Clare entered the world on July the 13th, 1793, in the small village of Helpston, nestled in what was traditionally Northamptonshire in the soak of Peterborough, though 1960s and 1970s local government boundary changes later shifted it to Huntingdonshire in 1965 and eventually to Cambridgeshire in 1974, where it remains to this day. John grew up in a thatched cottage on West Street, shared with his farm labourer father Parker Clare and his mother Anne. They were poor, scraping by on the land's meagre offerings. John was the elder of twins, but his sister didn't survive infancy. Malnutrition stunted his growth. He stood just 5 foot tall, but it couldn't dim his sharp mind or his love for the wild beauty around him. As a boy, Clare roamed Northamptonshire's open fields, absorbing the rhythms of nature that would define his poetry. He attended a vestry school in nearby Glinton until age 12, learning enough to read and write. Then it was straight to work, herding cows, weeding gardens at the Grand Burley House near Stamford, even burning lime in Pickworth across the Rutland border. These were the raw materials of his muse, the birdsong, the wildflowers, and the ancient enclosures that shaped rural life. But poetry called to him like a siren's song. Inspired by James Thomson's The Seasons, Clare scribbled verses in secret. In one early poem he captured Northamptonshire's essence. The spring is coming by a many signs, the trays are up and the hedges broken down, that fence the haystack and the remnant shines, like some old antique fragment weathered brown. This was no idle fancy, it was his world, threatened by the Enclosure Acts that fenced off common lands, displacing families like his. By 1818, desperation pushed him to share his work. Facing his parents' eviction, he approached a Stamford bookseller who connected him to London publisher John Taylor, and in 1820, poems descriptive of rural life and scenery hit the shelves, catapulting Clare to fame. London literati hailed him as the peasant poet, a fresh voice from Northamptonshire's soil. He mingled with lords and ladies, even earning an annuity from the Marquis of Exeter. That same year he married Martha Patty Turner, a milkmaid from Great Casterton near Stamford, in a simple church ceremony. They would have 7 children, rooting him deeper in Northamptonshire's earth. Success was sweet but short. His next collections, The Village Minstrel in 1821 and The Shepherd's Calendar in 1827, sold poorly. The enclosures ravaged the countryside he loved, mirroring his own unravelling. His financial woes mounted, his health faltered. Patrons like Earl Fitzwilliam gifted him a cottage in Helpston. But in 1832 they relocated the family to Northborough, just 3 miles away, but a world apart in Clare's mind. He felt exiled from his beloved Helpston, writing bitterly, "I've left my old home of homes, green fields and every pleasant place. The summer like a stranger comes, I pause and hardly know her face." Depression deepened, alcohol blurred the edges, and delusions crept in. Clare disrupted a theatre performance of The Merchant of Venice, By 1837, on Taylor's urging, he entered Dr. Matthew Allen's private asylum in High Beach, Essex, far from Northamptonshire's familiar fields. There he fancied himself a prize fighter, Lord Byron, and even married to 2 women, his real wife Patty and his childhood sweetheart Mary Joyce from Glinton, who had died years earlier. But Northamptonshire pulled him back like gravity. In July 1841, Clare escaped the asylum, trekking 80 miles on foot, eating grass and sleeping in ditches, to find his phantom Mary in Northborough. He arrived emaciated, delusional, but home. However, freedom was fleeting. 5 months later, local doctor Fenwick Scrimshire certified him insane, citing years of poetical prosing. Clare was committed to Northampton General Lunatic Asylum, now St Andrew's Hospital, just off the Billing Road, near Northampton town centre. From 1841 to 1864, 23 long years, Clare lived within those walls, a pauper patient funded by patrons. Under Superintendent Thomas Octavius Pritchard, he had some freedoms, however. A correspondent wrote to F. Martin, Clare's early biographer, "I saw Clare frequently during his residence at the asylum. At first he was allowed to come into the town, the asylum is only a mile out of it, unattended, and his favourite resort was beneath the portico of All Saints' Church, where in the summer-time he would sit for hours together. He was moody and taciturn, and rather avoided society." Remarkably, his poetry flourished here, raw and profound. In Northampton's shadow he penned what many consider to be his masterpiece, I Am. I am, yet what I am none cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivious host, like shades in love and death's oblivion tossed. And yet I am, and live with shadows lost. Into the nothingness of scorn and noise, into the living sea of waking dreams, where there is neither sense of life nor joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. And even the dearest that I love the best are strange, nay, rather stranger than the rest. I long for scenes where man hath never trod, a place where woman never smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator, God, and sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie, the grass below, above the vaulted sky. Clare wrote of birds, seasons, lost loves, often tethered to Northamptonshire's landscapes. He imagined himself as Byron or boxer Jack Randall, but his verses remained grounded in the fields that he could no longer roam. Clare suffered a stroke and died on May the 20th, 1864, at age 70, still in Northampton. As per his wishes, he was buried in Helpston, St Botolph's Churchyard, under a stone reading, "To the memory of John Clare, the Northamptonshire Peasant Poet." His legacy? A voice for the vanishing rural world, influencing modern eco-poets and reminding us of enclosures' human cost. Clare's story is Northamptonshire's story, a land of rural beauty and constant change, if not always change for the better. While researching this video, I've been struck by how much of Clare's poems remain relatable to our modern world, with more and more of Northamptonshire's countryside disappearing under housing estates and warehouses. Certainly the fields I played in as a lad are mostly gone now. If you'd like to know more about John Clare and his life in Northamptonshire, please head to the comments section, where I'm going to be putting many of the websites that I've used and found helpful during my research for this video. And if this moved you, please drop a comment below and let me know what your favourite John Clare poem is. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.